5 weeks into the high school football season already. Hard to believe that we're nearly midway through. It feels like we just started the season. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the End Zone. Yet again, it's week 4, but if you do the math, it's technically week 5 because week 0.
Yeah, we had a week 0.
Yeah, we had a week 0. I'm your host, Brendan Dunn, along with my co-pilot here, Andrew James. And what a night we had for some really good football. None bigger than number 1 South Point at number 4 South Florence. 2 undefeated teams. This could be a state championship game if you really looked at it.
Top 5 matchup. I mean, getting it, like you said, we are a little bit into the season, but this is kind of early in the season to see a test like this for Coach Marlowe and the Bruins. But man, what a game it ended up being.
Yeah, and I tell you, they've been tested so far, a couple of games, nothing like they saw tonight, obviously, from a team that has won multiple state championships, coming off a state championship. But you got to remember that South Florence did knock off Oceanside, who was ranked. They went over to Orangeburg-Wilkins on the road, took care of business there. So they've won some big ball games, but as you just alluded to, I mean, this is a different beast when you play the Stallions because they are the staple in Class 4, and they have been for a while. So with that being said, how would Drew Marlowe and those Bruins do against the top dog in South Carolina? We go to South Florence, get it going. I tell you what, the Bruins started off fast. Lenora Sellers back to pass. Evan Singletary gone. Yep, that connection starting to get online. Touchdown Bruins, they're out to an early 7-0 lead. Yeah, but the Bruins not quite done in the scoring department, not by a long shot. They go to the ground game. Shaquem Shiloh this time working his magic. Boy, he's been doing really well the last couple of games. Yeah, number 2 in for 6. Put another touchdown on the board, 14-0 in the first. It stays in the first, and the Bruins back in business. Defense doing well. They give the ball back to their offense. Drew Marlowe says, you know what? Let's go for the punch. Sellers back to pass. Shiloh, second touchdown for number 2. Man, the Bruins were looking good. How about 21-0? As they come back in the second half, they go back to work. And you know who does? The Syracuse commit. That man right there, Sellers, doing it with his feet and his legs. After that touchdown, Coach Marlowe says, hey, 16, your night's done. Go ahead and hit the bench. We're going to give some other guys an opportunity because this one's about out of reach. And Malachi Marshall, he comes in and picks up right where Sellers left off just a little bit later on. Yeah, because the interception here by McFadden as he leaps in there for the touchdown, taking it back the other way for the pick 6. Malachi, yeah, he plays for South Point. That's not really what you want if you're on the road trying to win a big game.
All that seals it, really.
Pretty much so. Start of the fourth quarter, South Florence. I said they took Sellers out, but I was mistaken. You can't take the guy out. Just let him keep rumbling. He takes it in for another score. That about put this one to bed. South Florence, statement made, 42-7. South Point was actually shut out until late in the fourth quarter. They would put on 7 there, but by that point, this game was all but over.
I wish we didn't do the graphic real quick. Head coach Marlowe got himself a water cooler bath after this one, rightfully so.
Yeah, he deserves it. This is the biggest win for him in his young coaching career. It puts his club in position to really be the number 1 team in the state next week. I don't know really how you don't. After doing what they did to the number 1 team in the state, I don't know how you don't put them number 1. I guess we'll find out on Tuesday. Bruins go to 5-0 and head into a bye. So now they've got 2 weeks to rest up for region, which for them begins on the 30th as they travel to Hartsville. But tonight it's all about this win. We caught up with Drew Marlowe to get his thoughts on what this win meant and kind of where his team goes.
I think our ability to run the football early was really, really important, especially in that first half. And our defense, man, our defense shut them down. They're a high, potent offense, and they shut them down pretty much the whole night.
All right, good win for South Florence to say the least. Man, congratulations to the Bruins, 5-0, and man, looking really well. So let's move on to Class 5A. Carolina Forest coming off that loss to South Florence last week, and the Bruins hung 40 on them. So how would the Panthers respond at home against Stratford? And you know what? They really needed a win in this one.
This was a must-win game, really, for them because it was a favorable opponent in Stratford. I want to say who's winless right now. They may have one win on the season, but for Carolina Forest, their season, if they're going to have losses, they're going to need to find wins and to bounce back. And let's see how the Panthers fared as we head out there today. Good weather, of course, for Carolina Forest, and we get things started off early here. First quarter, Panthers on the doorstep with Zion Gilbert hits the hole and finds a little turf and hits the end zone. Carolina Forest strikes first, the 7-0 lead. Trying to build that momentum for Coach Morris there. Knights answer, though, in the second. Savion Jones hits the corner, no one home for the Panthers to stop the senior there. He'll stroll in for the equalizer. We're all tied up. Panthers connect, though, on the field goal to end the half with a 10-7 lead. That becomes quite important later on here. Second half, it was wild. Knights inside the 5 and Brett Mars on the receiving end of his pass. Stratford takes the first lead of the game, looking for their first win of the season. There we go, Ed. Thank you for that. Now, the Panthers, they would connect on a late touchdown pass. Scott Sagler and block a last-second field goal. The field goal, the difference maker in this one. Ladies and germs, Carolina Forest holds on.
They win it. There you go. We take you to the scoreboard, show you they took care of it. 17-14.
Woo!
Man, big
Stressful.
win. Yeah, big win for CF. They had to have it. They got it done. Hats off to Saylor and their offense for coming on strong late in the second half to get that game-winning touchdown. And really big hats off for the defense to block the block the field goal at the end of the game to seal this one for them.
Yeah, special teams comes in important times for your performance there. Carolina Forest got it there as they now have somewhat of a favorable matchup next week as well.
Yeah, they do. North Myrtle is having their struggles. We knew that they would do so. They're a young football team, but they've had a bye. So they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, get a little healthy. Carolina Forest probably a little banged up after 2 big games, especially tonight and last week. So we'll see what happens next week at the Forest between the Chiefs and the Panthers. All right, let's stay in Class 5A. We stay on the beach as Dillon makes a rare appearance here on the Grand Strand to take on Binghamton and the Braves. And what a night at Socastee. Weather is cooling down, starting to feel like a football. Dillon starts off where they left off last week, scoring touchdowns. Ty Martin resumes his streak of finding the end zone. One possession for the Cats, and they led 6-0. Socastee, though, would answer the big leg. Allen. Legis pulls the Braves within 3. It's a ball game in Socastee. Move to the second. Braves moving, facing 4th and short. Scott, the keeper, finds a hole, bounces outside, strolls into the end zone. The backup quarterback looking more at ease in this one. Braves took a 10-6 lead. However, Wildcats would take the ensuing kickoff to the house to reclaim the edge. Kelvin Rolla goes for 2. The big fella, Chris McCullum, stretches the Dillon lead to 14-10. Not to be outdone, Braves march down the field. Scott with the pretty ball to Steve Green. What a game we got. Back and forth we go. 16-10 Socastee. Braves, an opportunity to attack on a field goal as the clock hits 0, courtesy of a Dillon miscue on a punt. It is good. Socastee led 19-14 at the half, but not unlike last week at Hartsville. Dillon bounces back in the second half and wins this one 44-33. Socastee, however, made it close, but Dillon would pull away late in this one as the Wildcats continue to win and win over really good opponents. That's 3 straight opponents that they've really had to battle to win, and that's only going to help them when region starts. Definitely going to help them when the playoffs start, because you can go on the road and win at Wilson, at Hartsville, and at Socastee. That's only going to build your resume up there a little bit.
Big wins over big opponents, but also question marks for the coaching staff when they expect to see their defense hold opponents to single-digit games. So Dillon having to take some of these games with some lessons learned defensively, I think, as well. So that's one important factor here. Dillon last year giving up maybe max 8 or 10 points a game. And already after Hartsville and Socastee, you see these kind of high-scoring games that they've had to fight to stay in and, in fact, win. It's great to see it offensively. Defensively, it's going to be definitely a point of where they're going to be hearing it in practice.
Yeah, and they're going to have to really kind of buckle down here over the next 2 weeks. They have Marlboro County coming in next week. Obviously, that's a rivalry game.
Big game.
You can throw the rankings out and you throw all that stuff out. It's a ranking. It's a rivalry, so we'll see what happens. But Loris is coming up 2 weeks, and that Loris defense is setting the tone. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Dillon's going to have to really bear down over the next 2 weeks if they want to, A, stay undefeated, and B, beat Loris to start region play. So we'll see what happens in that one. All right, let's continue on, shall we?
Down to the Low Country. See
There we
how
go.
St. James fared against Ashley Ridge. St. James coming off a loss, I want to say the previous week. Needing to have a little bounce back here as they head down south. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage. The Sharks taking on the Swamp Foxes in Somerville. We start off with Ashley Ridge having possession. Xavier Proctor Floyd drops back to pass. He finds no one there. That was a
nice
gnarly hit there. As the Sharks have the ball now, Schwalm hands the ball off to Isaiah Brown for the 30-yard run. Good gain there later in the possession. Schwalm again escapes the pressure coming from that Swamp Fox defense, and he spins and finds space to run for the first down. A big scamper there that keeps this drive alive. Continuing in this same possession, Schwalm hands the ball off to Brown. He finds the end zone. Some tenacious work by the Sharks offense getting into this game and staying in it. Proctor Floyd, he'd hand the ball off to Garland. He pounds it in for 7 as well as Ashley Ridge finds a way to answer. And I did not put an end score on this, B. Dunn.
I can.
Pick it up for me.
Ashley Ridge, 26, St. James, 10. Not what they were looking for going into this one, a chance for their 4th win of the season. However, it didn't happen. So now St. James will come home for the first time this season to play on their new duds, as Stratford will make the trek back up to the Grand Strand next week to take on the Sharks. We will have Tommy Norwood live in the end zone next week to talk about his football team and how they did against Stratford. So we'll see how that one plays out a week from tonight.
Again, 3-2 record for the Sharks.
It's good.
They've had some setbacks for these last 2 games, but they have yet to play at home.
Yes, so that 5 games all away. Pretty impressive to say the least when you're 3-2 playing on the road for your first 5 games. So, all right, next week we'll see.
We shall see. As we keep rolling here, we will take you now to top-ranked Lakeview playing host to Central. I want to say neither of these guys have played each other before, so it should be an interesting matchup for the Wild Gators as they
Been playing well.
take a first look at this as well. Yeah, rebounding.
Yep, been playing well.
Since early in the season.
Yep.
Let's roll that tape. We go to the 3rd quarter here where Lakeview is up by 1. Jason Herlong takes a snap and a handoff to Marvin Gordon, who dances into the end zone to get Lakeview up 14-7. Now, as we head to the back part of the 3rd quarter, Jacob Griffin, handoff to Wilson there. He makes it in for the Central touchdown. This game, like so many we've seen tonight, it's tight. 14 tied all. As we go to overtime, we got extra football here, y'all.
I like extra football.
Dawkins, though, he takes a snap and he muscles his way to the end zone. Lakeview holds on. This was a good test for the Wild Gators, getting that close game action. How do you finish the game? Something they will need to keep in their back pocket as they
win
continue
it
this season. Yep.
Yes, we go. Yeah.
14.
There it is, 20-14. Wild Gators with their 4th consecutive win. Coach King and company are playing well over the last month. They will head to Loris next week, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But Daryl King does, in fact, join us live to talk about the Wild Gators tonight and his season to date. Coach, thank you for staying up late with us and joining us this evening. You have to be pleased by the way your team battled tonight, going into overtime and taking care of business to beat a program that has a history of success in Central.
Yeah, we talked to the kids about that this week, about the program Central has. They're a good football team, very physical, fast, and they really got after it tonight. But I'm super proud of our kids, really excited for them, the way they played. We've talked about finishing football games, and this was the first test that we saw this year to where we had to finish one. And like I said, just proud of the coaches and the job they've done over the past few weeks, and really excited for our young men.
What was the biggest takeaway that you and your staff had after the Marion game? Because it seemed after that game, this program, your team kind of switched gears to rattle off 4 in a row. What was it about that game 1 loss to the Swamp Foxes that really kind of sets you guys in motion to be where you are now?
Well, you have to give Marion a lot of credit for that game. They were prepared. They outplayed us. They outcoached us. We went back that weekend and we made a few changes defensively, philosophy-wise and everything else, but the kids have bought into it, and we've become a really good practice team over the past few weeks.
You got to be pleased with your quarterback play. Obviously replacing a young man who had been in your system for 3 years, grew up in the system, so to speak. But Herlong's been playing really well. It seems like he's finally starting to get in the groove, so to speak, and the ease. He seems to be picking it up, and that's got to bode well for you going into region in a couple of weeks.
It makes you feel better. I mean, he does a good job running the offense. We mix DJ in there with him also, running the ball, throwing it a little bit. But, I mean, anybody, that plays that tell you it all starts up front with that offensive line. They're doing a good job protecting and run blocking, but also our receivers on the outside making some outstanding catches and running backs that just really run the ball hard.
Talk about your weapons. You have plenty of weapons on this football team, but you always do. What is it about Lakeview that produces just quality athletes year in and year out for a town that is as small as yours?
Oh, it's just a testament to the kids. I mean, how hard they want to play. They want to come out here and do their best. They want to be, the best at what they do. And it's just how hard they work, the time they put in the off season in the weight room, and then watching film and going out to practice and working hard and then taking that into Friday nights. That's been the biggest key. And, I mean, like you said, it's just different ones. You look at the game tonight, it was a lot of people stepping up on both sides of the ball, whether it was offense or defense, special teams with that block field goal late in the ball game. So I'm just really, really proud of them.
Got one more question for you and I'll let you go. You got Loris next week, obviously a football team that is playing quite well. Talk about the matchup a little bit and just heading down the road to take on a team that you're probably pretty familiar with given just the vicinity of the closeness between Lakeview and Loris.
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe 1991 was the last time we played them, even though we're this close to each other. But, I mean, everything I've heard, I've seen a little bit of film, but a really, really quality football team, really good, coached well, athletes all over the place, defense is lights out. They beat Conway tonight. They're really, really good, and it's going to be a big test for us next week.
Coach, hey, I appreciate your time. Thanks for staying up late with us and joining us live here on the End Zone. We'll see you on the Friday Night Rivals Game of the Week here in a couple of weeks when you guys travel to Sea Floyds. So looking forward to that. Coach, have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you down the road.
Well, thank you for having us.
All righty. Speaking of the Friday Night Rivals Game of the Week, that's where we go now. We're talking about Loris and Conway. These two teams haven't played in 37 years. Why? I have no idea. They're only 22 miles apart, but they renewed the rival tonight. Let's head to Loris. Undefeated Lions taking on the 2-2 Tigers. Pick up the action second half after a defensive battle. Jackson Huff connects with Duke Bellamy, the outstanding athlete, with a big game. Lions on the board up 7-0. Later in the third, Loris on the move yet again. They catch Conway napping. Huff, Bellamy, second score of the night for that 1-2 combination. 13-0 Loris. Fourth quarter, Tigers finally get something going. Quick hit to Cameron Alston, the senior wideout, down the line. Got a clear path to the house. Put 6 on the board for the Tigers as Conway pulls within 6. We got a ball game going down late in the fourth. Less than a minute to play. Tigers facing 4th and goal. Granger to the end zone, looking for the equalizer. Not going to be there. Johnson ends the game as Loris comes away with a huge victory, beating Conway 13-7. As I mentioned, first time since 1985 these two have played. Conway won that game in 85. 37 years later, Loris returns the favor and defeats the Tigers. Lions go to 4-0, playing well with Lakeview coming in. Tigers drop to not 2-23, but 2-3. Nevertheless, I digress. Conway, they go back home, lick their wounds a little bit, get ready for another big test when Aner comes to town next week. And we've already talked about Loris and Lakeview next week.
Exciting matchup for next week, and a heartbreak really for Conway as well. If you all tuned in to the CW, you would have seen that this game, Conway had scored a winning touchdown, but it got called back.
Yep.
Due to a penalty. So, I mean, just tough loss there for Conway, coming off their win against North Myrtle Beach. But Loris rolling, and right now looking really primed for a great matchup against Lakeview. Should be an exciting game.
Offense wins games, defense wins championships. It's been said for decades, Loris has a defense to win a championship.
Yep.
They continue to play the way they're playing on defense. All they need is touchdowns, 10 points, 14. They don't need a lot.
You can keep a guy like Granger in check. That's pretty good defense.
That is. And hats off to Loris. They're playing well. Obviously, they got a test next week with Lakeview, but the big test is coming up in a few weeks when they take on Dillon. That will be the measuring stick. And the HTC game ball went to none other than Duke Bellamy. Came up with 2 touchdowns tonight in the win. Outstanding young man who just continues to do it on both sides of the ball and on special teams. Congratulations to Duke. He was the HTC game ball winner for tonight's Friday Night Rivals game of the week. All right, we're just getting warmed up when we come back. Hartsville looking to bounce back on the road at Irmo. Tough test for them. And I tell you what, we got some other big games to talk about as well. Looking forward to what we've got. Don't go anywhere. We had 20 games tonight.
This is a lot of paper, folks. We got a ways to go.
We got highlights coming your way, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Back to the End Zone, brought to you by Conway Medical Center and Mr. Sparky.
Hartsville back in action tonight, a week removed from a disheartening loss to Dillon, where they really had the Wildcats on the ropes in the second half. But that second half defense performance was not what Calabrese is used to, and the end result was a Dillon win. So tonight they had to go on the road to Irmo, which isn't another easy test. That's you got to go to the Midlands to play, and really kind of want to see kind of where you stand after last week.
Definitely a test on the road. I mean, those kind of trips to the Midlands, they can trip up some PD teams quite often.
Yep.
And
I mean, Hartsville really, basically I wanted to see how would they respond. How would you respond after what happened in that second half? How would you respond on the road to really kind of tell where you are after, 5 games? And I guess we'll find out because we have the highlights. Let's go to the Midlands and show you. You got to win, right? All right, here we go. Fourth quarter, Hartsville trailing by 3. Red Foxes have first and long. Jay Sean Anderson takes the handoff for the big gain. This drive earns no points, though. Hartsville with the ball again, losing time on the clock. Trying to convert on 4th down, but Irmo's defense shuts it down. Turnovers, and that protects the slim lead. With just 4 seconds left in the game, Hartsville in desperation mode. The pass back, deep, drops. Yellow Jackets swarm and earn the quarterback sack to end the game. Hartsville loses back-to-back. A tough one for them tonight. Irmo 17, Hartsville 14. Red Foxes dropped to 3-2. The response not really what Jeff Calabrese was hoping for and or expecting, knowing Coach Calabrese. But the good thing about this is it's still non-region. You start region in 2 weeks. You have a bye to correct some issues that hampered you the last 2 weeks, because when you do start region,
tough start.
You got to face South Florence. So,
we'll see how much preparation you can do for South Florence, but right now, Hartsville is on not the best momentum swing right now.
No, and South Florence is obviously coming off that huge win tonight. But it'll also be interesting to see how they handle the success, especially when you're 16, 17, 18 years old. How do you handle success that you're not really accustomed to having? So it'll be interesting come September 30th, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that one goes between those two old rivals. Speaking of old rivals, these two, Wilson and Darlington, been playing for years. They play for a trophy, as a matter of fact. Did you know that?
I do now.
You do now. And the trophy was on the line yet again tonight. There it is. First quarter, Darlington. DeBose takes the snap, drops back, throws it long to Marquise Wells, who catches it on the bobble.
High on the ball.
Darlington preparing for a field goal, but the snap is high and it's blocked. Wilson's defensive line gets in there to keep the Falcons off the board. Later on, Darlington looking for a little bit more, back to pass. Wells makes a clear catch for the Darlington touchdown. Falcons on the board. Wilson looking for something, but they would get it. It just would happen in the second half. Wilson would go on to win this one as they blow it open in the second half, 44-6. But Darlington, they were in it until, I guess, Coach Mooney decided to kind of wake them up at halftime. But the Tigers keep the trophy. They go to 4-1 on the season. They have a bye, like most teams do next week. And then they start region with North Myrtle Beach on September 30th. As for the Falcons, they too have a bye, and they will take on Marlboro County on the 30th as well. So both these teams kind of heading in opposite directions, but they go into byes, looking to kind of clean up a few things. We'll see what the Falcons can do as they continue on. And of course, Wilson will start the meat of their region schedule and their march to a region title in 2 weeks.
Falcons still in search of their first win. Still a tough road ahead to find that first win.
But being 3A will help them.
Yep, that will help them because remember, they have that reclassification.
Yep,
So we'll
no
see.
longer in that region 4A with North Myrtle, West, South, Wilson, and the list goes on.
And speaking of that, we move down again to the Low Country. I'm getting all the Low Country games tonight.
You are getting all the Low
You
Country
thought
games.
that out. Ainer down at Philip Simmons.
The old Blue Jackets coming off a big win.
Sure are. And right now dealing with these, opponents coming in from out of town. And that kind of test that comes with that, how would Ainer
And this is a big test.
Step up.
Yeah, this is a
Exactly.
big test for them because Philip Simmons is no slouch.
It's a team that trips us up a lot in the postseason. Did that happen tonight? Eric Bendig there for the Philip Simmons coach. We start this thing off with Ainer on top, heading into the third quarter, 22-10. That's where we get this big run here from Daniel Stanley. He opens this thing wide open. Next play, Rivers Johnson. When he's in the backfield, he's getting the ball and he's taking it. He finds
Rivers. You the man.
Touchdown Ainer, and then get a 2-point conversion to boot. 30-10 Blue Jackets. Philip Simmons, though, needs to answer, and they need to find one fast. Next possession, the handoff to Asbury, and he puts on the Jets. He picks up a quick first down there and some, and he try to breathe some life back into the Iron Horse team offensively, and it happens with their quarterback here. He finishing it off himself to get the score to net this one close, within 13 points, but that's as close as Philip Simmons would get. Horses fall, Blue Jackets rise, 52-31 on the road.
It's a good win. Good win for Jason Allen. Good win for Ainer.
Yeah.
That's a good football team they beat tonight, especially on the road, having to do that. Give Ainer. Right now, Loris, Ainer, Dillon, looking pretty strong. Looking real strong.
Should be fun when
It
they
should be
start
fun
playing each other. Yeah,
I'm telling you what, when
looking
those three start squaring off here in a couple of weeks for that region, it's going to be fun to watch. No doubt about that. Ainer has one more non-region game. They're going to head to the backyard to take on Coach Terry and the Tigers next week. Those two are one of the few that don't have a bye next week. So we will actually have highlights of that one for you. Looking forward to it. This bug right here that's flying in front of us is killing me.
It's a gnat and it is nasty.
He is all over the place. All right.
We digress.
We do digress. Yeah.
Let's head up 17. Check out Lake City as they go to Georgetown, a matchup that's been a little off these past couple years, but it's a nice rekindling of the old flame between these guys. It's kind of funny.
Rekindle the flame.
Rekindle the flame. It's actually quicker for Lake City to get to Georgetown than it is to come to the beach here. So this is a pretty fun matchup.
I love the Steel City. I love it. Let's go.
Love it. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage. As I say that again for the second time, I need to find a new phrase. Slow motion format. Oh, really nice camera work. Is this one of our cameras?
I still like Lake City's unis.
That's Burgess. He's keeping it and picking about 20 yards there. Next play to Wilson here. He takes it to the house.
That's called following your blockers,
I
follow the
also
big fellas.
really like Lake City's away jerseys, too. They got the nice new threads this year. The
Uh-oh,
Bulldog
Georgetown.
ball, though, and Powell hits Stanley on the slant. He takes this one all the way to the 5-yard line. Not in there yet. Look at this. I need this camera in my life.
Georgetown in the house. Look at
Nash
that.
right there, the QB sneak. He gets across the goal line there for the touchdown. But honestly, Georgetown looked really good. Lake City just looked a
better.
little better
Yeah.
as they pull away with this one, 43-19.
Panthers, 3-2. Dogs still
Making
looking,
noise.
still looking for that first win of the season, and it won't get much easier for them next week. They are at home, but Manning comes to town. As for Lake City, let's start it. Let's get it going. Let's start region, and we're going to start it off right for the Panthers. They've circled this one. They circled it when their schedule came out. I talked to the players in the preseason in the summer, and they all had it circled on their calendar. This is the one they want. It's Lake City and Camden. We're going to start it off next week, and we're going to find out where the Panthers lie after 5 games into the season.
Indeed, a good
with
win.
the Dogs coming to town.
Good win for them over Georgetown to have that momentum as they play host to Camden. Now we keep rolling. We're moving up to Marlboro now as they host the cross-state opponent in old Hardeeville at the end of Jasper County, coming all the way up to Marlboro County to really
Party in Bennettsville.
get some of this, and they sure did. We head out to McAlpine Stadium in Bulldog Country, folks, as Jaguars, they come to town. Picking this one up in the second half. Bulldogs, they're already up 48-0. Marlboro would force the turnover here on the Jaguars' first possession, and Bulldogs take over.
Bulldogs were up big in
Yeah,
the first
this-
quarter. I think it was like 28-0, I think.
And that's because they have big boys like this carrying the ball. Simmons finds the gap. He picks up a big chunk of yards there for the first down, and we're still in this same position with Deshaun Boatwright. Recovers and bounces outside, finds a gap, and he spins off a defender.
Oh, come on, Boatwright.
Boop. There, you're not getting me down with one arm, buddy. He picks up the first down there to keep the drive going.
That's athleticism is what that is.
He would not be done. This was just a complete thumping by Marlboro County. He'd punch it in himself again. He's got wheels. He gets up in the air. Mike Vick-like with that leap. 54-0 after that one, folks. They missed the PAT, but, you know,
And that was your final.
you didn't need to see anymore.
Like I said, this one was over in the first quarter. Marlboro County putting the hammer down.
Looking good.
Putting the hammer down. They go to 3-1 and prepare themselves for that matchup next week with the Cats. Always an interesting time when those two square off. Dillon Memorial is going to be bumping, to say the least, with the Dogs coming to town. It is going to be lights out next Friday for Dillon and Marlboro County. Okay, my friends, Andrews and Hannah-Pamplico. That would not be the two teams that we're facing tonight. It was Andrews and Waccamaw. Let's go.
Just kidding.
Waccamaw opening in the second half. Jarrett Yonkers, seam pass. It is tipped. Greer brings it in, fights across the goal line. Waccamaw doing work. Next drive, Yellow Jackets. The pass picked off by Miles Robinson. He said he was going to have a big season. That will help his cause.
This is
Next.
cinematic.
Yellow Jackets drive, bad snap. Robinson comes away with the turnover yet again. Field goal attempt by Waccamaw, but Andrews gets their own block and recovery. Jackets trying to do something with it. Cam Cumby, deep shot, hauled in by Harrington. And the Jackets in business. Next play, another fumble, another Waccamaw recovery. Despite 3 turnovers, though, Waccamaw could only get 3 on the board at that point. Andrews, however, they win it. Despite the turnover issues, 30-16, Jackets rolling. They've won 4 in a row. Remember, they lost the first game to Philip Simmons. Since that point, they haven't sniffed the loss column. It's all been wins for them. Warriors, however, after starting off relatively good, they've kind of fallen back.
Opposite direction.
There you go. Opposite direction. You took the words right out of my mouth, my friend. It's one we're a 1-2
We
punch here.
finish each other's sentences. We're great.
That's it. All right, we'll see what the Jackets can do, man, because they've got region starting up here too, and So does Waccamaw, and Waccamaw's region is, Aner, Loris, Dillon.
Yep.
So
Well, with
that
Andrews
speaks
being
for
able
itself.
to, not let the setbacks totally change the game, that's a good quality to maintain as they keep rolling.
That's Scott Durham. That's a reflection of their head coach. He's one of those, you just put it beside, you lose, you set it aside, you move on to the next one, you continue to move on, you continue to grind. Remember, Andrews isn't that far removed from being in a lower state championship. It was just a couple of years ago.
Right.
And of course they're going right now with them and Marion. They're on a collision course to meet here in a couple of weeks, and whew, that one's going to be fun. Anytime those two teams meet, it's fun. All right, my friends. Well, when we come back, we've got more scores, more highlights. We're just getting warmed up. It's past midnight, and we're not done.
Not even close.
Not even close. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.
So, brought to you by Conway Medical Center and Mr. Sparky.
Everybody knows, for the most part, when you talk about Marion, basketball comes to mind.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They have a very good basketball program. Both the girls and the boys basketball teams are really good. Now, football obviously is big in Marion as well. They went to a state championship not too long ago. But when you say Cheraw Marion, most of the time you think, okay, well, basketball, that'd be a pretty good matchup. You wouldn't expect a basketball game to break out during a football game. But that was kind of what happened tonight in Cheraw, right?
Score-wise, you're not far off. And especially with the backstory here, Cheraw has had Marion's number for quite some times when they hit the gridiron. And you would think right now, though, these teams, how this season's been shaping up, Marion's been rolling.
Oh, Marion's been...
And Cheraw has kind of...
The only stumble they had was Wilson.
Yeah.
And they had Wilson basically, they were rolling past Wilson until the second half, and then it was a different story. So, I don't know, man.
The question could be, could Cheraw be that speed bump for the Swamp Foxes as it has been in the past?
I don't know. Maybe they should have put Hardwood down on the football field
Maybe
tonight.
they should have. But
All right.
I don't know. It depends on who you're rooting for tonight. It went pretty well in one team's favor, and we'll let you know right here, right now. Rawtown, where the Swamp Foxes, they took to get that W on the road. It took not a whole lot, believe it or not. We picked this one up with the Swamp Foxes. They're up 8-0, and Marion looking to increase that lead with Cusack. He hits Williams there with a quick dump off to get the first down, moving in the right direction for Scott to finish off the drive with the 5-yard scamper, and the Swamp Foxes will take a 16-0 lead. Marion's next drive, Cusack, of course, it's a familiar name. We'll keep saying his name because he's a difference maker. Arm strength to the air,
That was a really good ball.
finds Scott. Scott goes up and gets it 60-yard. You're not catching him. Well, you could have dove to tackle their cornerback, but why
Nah,
not?
not going to happen.
Business decision was made. 24-0 Swamp Foxes. The Braves, though, would get on the board in the second quarter with Nolan connecting to Faulkner for the score. Braves still trail, though, needing some miracle to take place here because of this guy. Scott had himself a game, not just on offense, but defense.
Wow.
Gets that pick off of Nolan for what would be a pick six. That score would really be called back due to a penalty, though. So
It's still a good play. I mean,
inevitably,
athleticism.
Swamp Foxes would find the end zone again. Cusack to Williams there. Marion would roll 76-27 over Cheraw.
Yeah, that's not a misprint.
No bump in the road there for the
No
Swamp
bump in the
Foxes.
road.
Not at all.
As I said, a basketball game broke out in Cheraw tonight. Gabriel Cusack, 5 touchdowns tonight. He is rolling. Swamp Foxes are as well, picking up their 4th win of the season as they head to Latta next week. As for Marion, man, I'm looking forward to this game.
That's going to be fun.
Marion coming to the beach to take on the Seahawks. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a fun game at the Shaw between the Seahawks and Marion. Both like to air it out. Both like to run the football. Both really run kind of a spread offense. Both defenses are going to be tested. So we'll find out. I'm looking forward to it. Should be an exciting game next week here on the Grand Strand with the Swamp Foxes making an appearance at Doug Shaw Memorial. Okay, my friends, we're off to Johnsonville. Latta and the Golden Flashes Latta 3-1. Johnsonville perfect after another win last week on the road at Waccamaw. How would this one come out between the third-ranked team in the state and a red-hot bunch from Latta? Johnsonville leading 21-8 at the half. C.J. Woodbury gets the handoff, runs up the middle, cuts it to the left, and he finds pay dirt. 28-8 Johnsonville. Golden Flashes doing work as Burgess gets in the action. Bad snap toward the end of the third gives Johnsonville a really good short field. That leads to the cheerleaders being hyped and the opening drive of the fourth quarter. A deep corner pass. J.J. Coles, touchdown. He is a big, big receiver. 35-8 Johnsonville. Latta doing their best to try to stay in this game. Right before the end of the game, Elijah Jones connects with Michael McKenzie over the middle, which leads to Matthews taking the handoff and diving into the house. But by this point, Johnsonville had already sealed the deal. Flashes win it 35-14 to remain perfect on the season, handing the Vikings their second loss of the year. Burroughs, Shippey, and the Flashes are going to be a tough out. Their region at the beginning of the season looked to be a daunting task, but the way things are playing right now, Johnsonville is really head and shoulders above everybody in that region. If they just played their game, they should have winning the championship. But that's not one on paper. You got to still play the games. Johnsonville has to HP next week. Cheraw comes to Latta. We'll see if, Johnsonville can continue to roll, and we'll see if Latta can bounce back.
Should be good matches up there. As we remain along the 378 corridor and take you to Hannah-Pamplico as they play host to East Clarendon. Tuberville coming to town. East Clarendon's Kate Cook, he would start this game off early for the Wolverines. Passes it to the right, but it's intercepted. JK, Josh McNeil. He gives Hannah-Pamplico something to scream about with a short field to play with. That will lead to William here getting the handoff, and he cuts around the right side, shrugs off a tackle to punch it in. Hannah-Pamplico up pretty quickly, 6-zip. Later on, though, East Clarendon's Jay Webb, he gets the handoff, and he breaks out to the left, and he gets the first down before being pushed out of bounds. And the cheerleaders, watch out, ladies.
Yeah, watch out, your girls.
All right, that gets progress for the Wolverines as they get this touchdown here. Number 2 getting the handoff and making this a tied game, 6-6. Maybe close. Hannah-Pamplico, they're used to some close games, though. Second quarter, Hannah-Pamplico's Jamarcus Williams gets the handoff for this big run here. 60 yards for the lead back to the house. You can dive all you want, sir. You're not catching that speedster. 14-6, Hannah-Pamplico at the half. And as we come to the final.
And it was just the beginning of a big night for them as HP rolls tonight, picking up their third win of the season.
Big win.
The struggles for the Wolverines continue as they still look for that first win, still trying to get that goose egg off of the win column. As for the Raiders, back home next week, as we just alluded to, with Johnsonville coming to town. That will be another big test for the Raiders from Hannah-Pamplico. Alrighty, my friends, we'll continue to move on here. We got Carvers Bay and Sea Floyds.
Carvers Bay, a team that's trying to build some momentum. Green Sea also trying to find their identity in this season. What would this game prove to hold for both of them? Let's find out. Carvers Bay traveling to play Green Sea. And Bears getting things started off early here with Bateman passing to Tony Bell. He breaks the tackle and takes off.
Good to see Bell.
Not catching this guy. We are in the second quarter at this point where it was a pretty uneventful first half, but it picked things up here with the Bears. They also get a 2-point conversion here with the quarterback coming in. No one to cover.
There was nobody.
Lance gets the 2-point conversion there. Green Sea, they're trying to answer back, but this happens. That same guy. Oh no, he didn't catch it. That guy caught it. Bell going the other way. He picks up 6 for Carvers Bay, and that's 14-0 when we get to the half. And Green Sea just not really building much offensively. You saw that was a pass. You don't normally see the Trojans pass unless they're in trouble. They stayed in trouble this game, and they did not get on the board.
All right, let's go to the scoreboard. It was 21-0 Carvers Bay over the Trojans tonight, shutting out Green Sea Floyds to drop them to 1-4. Not where Joey Price thought his football team was going to be at this point, 5 games into the season. As a matter of fact, Coach Richard didn't think his Bears were going to be 2-3, to be perfectly honest with you. But that's where these two teams are. Region play begins here shortly. Carvers Bay, they're going to go back on the road next week to Mullins. Green Sea Floyds, well, they got another really tough test next week as they will head down to Andrews to take on the Yellow Jackets. Okay, Lamar, McBee, two old rivals, two really historic programs. Well, they met tonight with Lamar up 8-0 at the half. Let's get the action going third quarter. Tyler McManus, the all-zoner, gives it off to Devion Martin, who finds the gap for a 15-yard pickup. Lamar with the first down. McManus drops back to pass, throws it out, but DJ Harper there for the interception. McManus will be frustrated by that sequence. Fourth quarter on fourth down. Grayson Booth in right down Broadway for the field goal. Lamar wins it 24-0 as they find themselves back above 500 at 3-2 with Kingstree coming to town next week. Other scores from around the area for tonight, it was Kingstree over Hemingway 44-6, dropping the Tigers to 0-5 as they will remain on the road next week at C.A. Johnson. And one other score to tell you about. Mullins, the Auctioneers, pick up their first win.
Dub.
That's right. They go to North Carolina tonight and beat Red Springs 36-28 as the Auctioneers will feel good about that win going home next week to prepare for the Bears from Carvers Bay. And when we come back, Skeeza, two undefeated teams battling in Mullins, Dee Academy in Williamsburg. We'll have those highlights and much more coming up next, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Brought to you by Conway Medical Center and Mr. Sparky.
A battle of undefeated teams in Mullins tonight. PD Academy, Williamsburg Academy to start our action in the Skeeza ranks. Both teams eyeing an opportunity to win a state championship, and tonight was a big test for both clubs to kind of see where they are. And with that, we go to Mullins to pick up the action and get the highlights rolling with PD Academy looking to pull off another win, but Caleb Klein and the Stallions had other things in mind. The touchdown here for Williamsburg would give them the early 8-0 lead after the 2-point conversion. Second quarter we go. Eagles bounce back. Hudson Spivey, Miles Trussell, touchdown PD. That cuts the Williamsburg lead to 14-6. Third quarter, Josiah Stone would all about put this one to bed.
Got some wheels.
Stallions go in to PD Academy and beat the Eagles, handing them their first loss of the season. The final tonight, 41-22, as the Eagles look to bounce back next week on the road at Hilton Head Prep.
Big win for Williamsburg Academy.
Big win.
Big win. Big win indeed. As we stay in the Skeeza battles through the evening, we go to Conway with Conway Christian playing host to Florence Christian. Bird battle, Eagles versus the Eagles. Now Florence Christian looking to score on the first drive. A good kickoff here puts them across the 50-yard line into Conway Christian Eagle territory. They stayed in there for quite some time today, but the pass finds the wrong Eagle. Will Dinkle there with the interception for Conway Christian, but they'd cough it right back up in dangerous territory for this jet sweep for Gabe McLaughlin. He goes in practically untouched for Florence Christian. Conway Christian again not producing on offense, or Florence Christian producing on defense.
Yeah, probably a little bit of both.
A little bit of both for this big touchdown pass here between Joel Huntley and Mika Johnson.
Mika's a big kid.
Beast. And a great throw from Huntley as well.
Yep.
They get the ball back for another 3 and out. Now, starting to really actually in their own territory here, but it doesn't matter. They were 60-yard scamper here by Braden Bevan. Whatever. He's big. He ain't taking him down.
Bevan's big.
With no arm tackles. He takes it to the house. That had Florence Christian up 24-0 before the first quarter was out. Second quarter action here, the big man, Watson gets it in. It's 31-0.
And that's a wrap.
Didn't really go anywhere else from there except in the favor of Florence Christian as they take this one.
38-0, shutting out Conway Christian. That's their second win for Florence Christian as they turn the tide and turn the page to John Paul, whom they will face next week. Other scores from around Skeeza for tonight. The Titans pick up their second win, consecutive win, as a matter of fact, as they beat Augusta Christian 30-22. Titans back home in Darlington next week to take on Legion Collegiates. All right, how about the King's Academy? They fell on the road to Clarendon Hall, 39-7, dropping the Lions to 1-3. They're back in Florence with Carolina Academy coming to town. As for Dillon Christian, they were home tonight, but they didn't fare much better. They lost to Calhoun Academy 46-8 as they remain winless on the season. And Carolina Academy rounds out the Skeeza ranks for Week 4 as we show you their setback to Thomas Sumter, 37-12. All right, my friends, Scotland County at home. Highlights of the Scots coming up next.
End Zone, brought to you by Conway Medical Center and Mr. Sparky.
Conference play began tonight for the Fighting Scots from Scotland at home tonight in Laurinburg to take on Hope County, a team that they've pretty much dominated for the better part of what,
13
14 years? When was the last time that the Scots lost to Hope County?
Last time Scotland County lost to Hope County, 2009. Obama was president.
All right, well, they were hoping that that streak didn't end tonight by winning. They wanted to win. With that, we go to Laurinburg to see if they did win. First drive of the game for the Scots. Patrick Primus in for the end zone and in for the 7. Primus is a very good football player. Late first quarter, we're knotted at 7. Bucks looking for the go-ahead score.
He gone.
Ethan Wallace off to the races, 50 to the house. That put Hoke up 14-7. Scotland regroups late second quarter, down 21-14 on the 5. Primus again takes the handoff and rumbles in to tie it at 21. But from that point on, it was all the team from Hoke County. They do, in fact, beat the Scots for the first time since
2009.
52-35, the final tonight in Laurinburg. And the struggles for the other team in North Carolina, that would be the Pirates of Lumberton. They fall to Cape Fear 37-0. Still looking for that first win in 2022. We're going to put a bow on this one in just a few minutes. We'll be right back.
Back to the End Zone, brought to you by Conway Medical Center and Mr. Sparky.
Programming note for next week, no Friday Night Rivals CW game of the week. We are taking the Friday off. It's our bye week, as a matter of fact.
Truly.
But we will regroup in a couple of weeks and get back to the Friday Night Rivals game of the week. But Marlboro County and Dillon, that's a big one scheduled for next week. Of course, we'll be back here next Friday, 11/20 for Week 5 of the End Zone. You guys have a fantastic weekend. Look forward to Coastal Carolina and Buffalo tomorrow. You got anything before we ring the bell and get knocked out of here?
It's a whiteout tomorrow. Whiteout conditions, folks, over at Brooks Stadium.
There it is.
Should be
Whiteout.
exciting.
It should be. We're going to have all the scores and highlights for college football tomorrow night at 11 right here on ABC 15. Thanks for watching tonight. We always appreciate you guys staying up late with us and watching the End Zone. It means a lot. We'll see you guys next week.